What's going on, everyone? Thanks for checking out another video coming to you from Dumfries, Virginia and Old Hickory Golf Club. You probably saw from the title and thumbnail that this is the home course of none other than Mr. Ben Kruper. You can see he's the club champion. I almost parked in the spot and I was like, nah, can't do it. Not only did my car get towed, but it's just bad juju, bad vibes, couldn't do it. If you don't know who he is, go look him up. He's known as the Pause King, but he has one of the prettiest, if not the prettiest swing in all of YouTube. And he's a local Northern Virginia guy, so we got to support that. Really, really love what he's doing. He has sponsorships. He won the Good tournament. But anyway, enough about him. Let's get to the course itself. Old Hickory's, honestly, it holds a special place in my heart. It's one of my favorite courses when I first got into golf. This would be known, and we'd always save this course as like a super special event or occasion. So someone's birthday, if people were visiting from out of town, there was just no questions asked, we're going to Old Hickory. This is a part of, I forget what they're called. I think it's like the Raspberry Trail, but for those that are familiar with Raspberry Falls, Bull Run, Augustine, it's a collection of courses owned by this group. So if you've ever played those, you have to check this out. I think it has one of the best layouts in Northern Virginia. But the only downside, hate being a Debbie Downer, the reason I stopped playing it, the conditions just went to hell. Overgrown tee boxes, bunkers that are basically rocks. I'm giving this another shot. Hopefully it's a lot better. But this is the drive up to tee box 1. And before we go any further, before we get into tee box 1, shoot your boy a quick subscribe button, like this video, comment with anything that you'd like to see or feedback. Really means a lot to me. I'd really appreciate it. Let's spread this game of golf to everyone in the DMV area or across the country. But tee box number 1. You can see we have a short par 4 here. Longer hitters, you might be able to drive this. For people like me, this is just kind of driver wedge. And one of the cool things about this course that I absolutely love, and I wish more courses did this, the first 3 holes, it's going to be kind of 3 handshake of holes. Short par 4, short par 4, short par 5. Really helps you get into a groove, get into a good round if you're trying to score. And oh my goodness, take a look at this. If this is what's to come, beat up rough, there's grass and not kept bunkers, I told you, conditions have just gone downhill. The one saving grace they have, I'll give them this. The greens are actually fantastic. With the exception of like 2 holes, you can see right here, the greens are pretty pure. They rolled true. They weren't rolling as fast as I thought they would, but all things considered, if I had to choose one thing, I'd really want to make sure that the greens were in good shape. So I can live with beat up fairways. I can live with tee boxes that are overgrown, but yeah, anyway, hole 2, here we go. Another short par 4 that's, again, fairly drivable for longer hitters. And one of the things about this course, when I was reading the course description online, it's funny because I noticed it the whole time, but it never really hit me until I read it. The way that this course was designed, and as you're going through the video, you're going to notice that even though it's a really, really difficult course, I think if you remember, it plays to like a over par rating and the slope is like 144, which is insane, by the way, a 144 slope. But to offset that, one of the things that the designers did is they made sure that the fairways, they kind of funnel and slope back towards the middle. So here's a really good example where, again, I noticed this during my round, but it just made a lot more sense. I hit like a fade and I'm fading towards the rough. And I was laughing to myself because when I drove up to my ball, and you'll see in a second, I ended up like fairly right middle of the fairway. So even though it's like it looks narrow on camera, there's tree lines left and right, there'll be forced carries. One of the really, really cool things about this course is the dispersion of your driver, whether if you have a draw or fade. If you hit even somewhat part of the fairway, even into the first cut in the rough, you're more than likely going to get some good bounces back into the fairway. Now, the downside of all that is one of the things of why this course is so hard. It's a 144 slope. You're going to see that a lot of your shots, you're going to have ball above your feet, below your feet. You're going to have uneven lies left and right. So even though it all funnels and slopes back in, it doesn't just mean you have a flat line, a very, very easy shot. But let's get back to the round itself. This is probably my favorite hole of the entire round. It is so, so beautiful. You'll notice, of course, I hit it right into the fairway bunker, but it's like a slight fade right, and this is probably the most beautiful approach shot. It sucks that I'm in this angle. By the way, look at those bunkers. What an absolute joke. To top it off, and I should have zoomed in, but the bunker here, I might as well have just hit it off concrete. This was like a, it was basically rocks everywhere. I might have even chipped a club. So come on, Old Hickory. Can we just take care of the bunkers? The greens are great. Let's work on everything else. But you'll notice there's like a little water pond, and this is one of the most beautiful approach shots in the entire course. It sucks that I wasn't more middle fairway or even to the right. You would have seen it. So the plus side of being in that fairway bunker, it actually gives me a pretty good look that takes the water out of play. Let's move on to the first par 3, which, I mean, this is an absolute nightmare. Am I on tour? Like, come on, Old Hickory. I'm just a weekend warrior. Why are you tucking pins in the far back right? You're scooting the tees back to the tips. So for some reason, we're playing with the tips where a 214-yard par 3 where if you're long, you're dead. Right, you're dead. Short, they trim the bushes. You're pretty much dead. You want to go where I aim, so just go middle green, 2-putt, move on. I'm actually very happy with my original line off the tee. The only downside is that I hit it a little bit short. So we had to chip, and I had the worst chip of my life, obviously. But so we end up chipping on and 2-putting. You know what? Bogeys are never fun, but this is the one time where I'm actually completely fine. In fact, I'm ecstatic with a bogey. I can expect that with all things considered, the tucked pin, playing from the tips. So that's just one where you walk away saying, I'm happy with the bogey. Now, going back, look where my drive ended up. It leaked right. This was just comical. Going back to my comment earlier of how everything funnels, my first bounce was like a 90-degree left. I end up back on the fairway. Not only am I on the fairway, I'm like pretty center. And this is actually a hole, so if you're using this as a scout, you actually want to be a little more left if you want to look at that green. If you end up where I am, more on the right side of the fairway, you're going to have to play a really tight fade around those trees to get onto the green, depending where the pin is. But long story short, I take a 4-iron, send it down, and end up with a chip and a putt for birdie. That chip, and the rough was really rough, so try to avoid it at all costs. But that chip that I hit ended up so short, my club got caught pretty hard. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm mad at a par, but it is kind of disappointing knowing that my drive was close to 300 off the tee, and a reason why, and you're going to see, spoiler alert, coming up on the next hole, I absolutely blast one, but because the fairways are fairly firm and not taken care of, they were like rock hard, the rollouts were insane, and then to top it off, I played on a really, really hot day. For those that remember the heat wave that hit Nova in June of 2024, the ball was moving. So extra hot temps, super hard fairways. The ball was just moving. And I was in positions that, I've played this course a bunch of times. There were certain spots where I'm like, whoa, I've never seen the hole from this angle, or I've never hit it this far. So it was kind of cool. It was kind of cool to see the ball moving. Maybe it was all the conditions, like I said, or maybe it's just your boy is a big, strong man. I mean, we have been hitting the weight room. We have been, moving some weight. But you'll see here's the first time I've never reached this sidewalk, the cart path right here. You can see that's my ball, and I end up taking a free drop. For the record, I did move it backwards. I wanted to just drop it right in front, but then I realized some of you internet bullies would ridicule me, so we end up dropping behind me. Why do I mention all that? Because, oh boy, we shanked the hell out of it. Do you see my lie? The ball is way above my feet. I found like a dead patch. I should have found maybe a flatter lie or something, but you know what? It's okay. We actually skull it, but it ends up, because the rough was so thick, it ends up on the greenside rough. And speaking of rough so thick, it catches my wedge again. That was such a poor wedge shot. So just another hole where we're going to end up with a 2-putt bogey. It's very disappointing knowing that I had like a 300, I think it was 315 or 316 yards when I measured it. So just very, very disappointing. And then here's another cool tee shot. So for what it's worth, you're going to see the card says 444 yards. This is handicap 1. I have nightmares about this hole. This hole has eaten me alive. They've actually done a good job trimming all the crap on the right, but basically left is all white stakes and houses. Right is all OB and dead stuff. You need to hit the fairway or you're just going to have a big number on this hole. The reason why I'm actually playing this hole pretty decently compared to last times, the card said 444 yards, but we were scooted up like 2 boxes. We actually played from a box I've never seen before. So here we are. We have a chance at par on handicap 1 where I think the last couple rounds I've played here, I think I like doubled and tripled. So the fact that I've parred this feels like a birdie. I am so happy. So we're actually playing some super solid golf. No circles on the card, but we will take a 2 over front 9, and let's get on. And by the way, this is where they end up telling me at the turn that it's officially cart path only. Is there honestly any worse or more devastating news than that? I mean, Seriously, come on. Anyway, you can see here that I end up with wedge, and it's funny. Am I in the rough? Am I in the fairway? Why does everything look so beat up? Come on, Old Hickory. You can see I throw a little dart symbol here. I throw a really good one. Do we have a chance for the first birdie of the day? And just as a fun fact, I wanted to show you all, this is what it looks like behind the scenes, how the sausage is made. I do a lot of looks, I do a lot of lineups, and this is usually what it gets to right here. That's the final cut that you all see. So that's a birdie, by the way. So a first circle, love to see that. But thought it'd be cool just to add in, kind of what it looks like each putt, where I've been trying to get a lot better about looking at all angles. I don't know aim points. I'm not going to act like I know how to walk it and feel it, but I've been trying to be better about my putter. As I'm looking back on all my rounds, putting has been one of my weaknesses, so I want to get a lot better. Back to my earlier point about crazy rollouts, this ball went close to 300, I think like 295, leaves me with a short wedge in. The firm and hot conditions, I mean, the ball just rolled on that one. So can we do it again? Back to, oh man, I actually thought I hit it. The funny part is I actually overthought this putt. It was a very straightforward one, and I changed my line and probably 100 times. Just sometimes you got to go with your first initial read and gut. But you know what? We're not mad at a par. Let's move on. You can see on the left-hand side, there's actually a guy watching me, letting me play through. I somehow caught a single. This is one of the most nerve-wracking tee shots. Come on, everyone knows when you're allowed to play through. The guy was playing slow. I think he was playing like multiple balls, so he told me to go through. I was like, oh God, just don't miss the ball. I actually end up hitting a pretty good drive on the right side of the fairway, and we do end up getting onto the green. You can see, I don't know if the camera does it justice from this angle. I don't know if you see that slope I had to hit up. I hammer that ball. I don't think I could mentally hit a golf ball any harder with a putter. We end up short still, but you know what? We'll take the 2-putt par. So if you're using this as a scout, this is one of the trickier holes in my opinion. There's a big fair greenside bunker you want to avoid, and then that green, depending where the pin is, it's kind of like a 2-tier green. On to the next par 3. I take a lot of extra clubs. You see I'm playing a 6-iron into 160. I learned from the previous hole where the wind was the same direction. The wind was eating my ball, and it might not be obvious, the flag isn't moving, but trust me, it was there. So I end up taking extra club. We end up pin high. We're actually not mad at that shot. We're actually not mad at a par here. The 2-putt par, that is fine. Let's move on. This is one of the cooler par 5s. I try to zoom the camera back a lot and take a look at how cool this tee shot is. That's about, if I'm guessing here, it's maybe like 150, 200 yards of force carry. It's a super tight, super narrow fairway. Houses on the right, OB left. This is one of the trickier holes, and it plays to 555. So not only is it long, but you're going to see in just a moment the approach shot. And this is one, if I always think back to myself, there's a few shots I want back. This is one of them. It's 110 yards, and I actually take extra club. Pitching wedge can go 120, 125. Do you see that I hit it short to the tracer? Do you see where I am now? I hit it probably to the top of that hill. It felt like I was playing Pinehurst 2, where it just rolled all the way back down. So what should have been a straightforward, maybe 20, 25-yard shot ended up being a 50 to 55-yard wedge shot. We end up hitting a really, really bad chip, and we 2-putt bogey. So that's just a shame for such a good drive, good second shot. I really wish I took maybe club up to a 9-iron, played that 10 to 15 extra yards, and then on to the next par 4. So a shorter par 4 where it's like 350 yards. For anyone smarter than me, you probably want to just take something that you can hit the middle fairway. I end up kind of snap hooking it. I don't want to say snap hook, but I do end up hitting it left. Luckily, the fairway does open up a bunch. Fun fact here, there's actually a bunch of maintenance men working on the course, and I was right next to them. I might have even hit them. I mean, it was that close. I was so nervous to hit that approach shot. So, yeah, we end up hitting an okay one. We end up 2-putt parring again, so you know what? Not that mad. Let's move on to the final 3 holes. And these final 3 holes, I mean, you're going to see in a second, but this might be the hardest finishing 3 holes in all of Northern Virginia. I mean, these are just absolutely insane. You can see I have a pretty good round going, by the way. I think I'm 3 over at the moment. And one thing I forgot to mention, by the way, so just as a fun fact, my second video ever posted on my channel, if you scroll all the way down, if you go through my page, it was actually this course. I filmed it in like cell phone mode, so it was just a really, really bad video overall. Anyway, I end up shooting an 81 on that video. So my personal goal this time around is to break 81, and I'm pretty confident I can do that after you know, 3 over through 15. By the way, there's the bogey. Mark, you spoke too soon. So okay, hey, everything's fine. Everything's fine. All right, let's just get on. Look at this hole. I don't know what was going on. Old Hickory, why is it tucked in the far back right against Sunday pin? So this is I told you there's usually some shots I want back. This is easily this now just trumped the other one. This is the number one shot I want back. This bunker that I'm in is just absolutely, you just guaranteed yourself a bogey, if not a higher number, if you're in that hole. To top it off, the bunker was all concrete and rock, so it was impossible to kind of splash it and get it up. But going back to the tee shot, and I should have mentioned it as you had it on the screen, but basically it was tucked in the far back right. Short is that bunker, right is pretty much OB on the other side. We just smoked that putt. My God, are we falling apart? Are we really falling apart with, in my opinion, I think it's handicap 2, but this is probably the hardest hole in the entire course. This plays to 601 yards. So for non-long hitters like myself, you know that this is just an absolute nightmare of a hole. The drive went okay. It got caught up in this rough. I still have a long ways in. I remember the last time I played this, I think I had driver 3-wood, 3-wood. I'm not kidding. That's how long this hole is. And to top it off, we were playing into the wind. I actually hit my driver good and that hybrid good. We still have a 4-iron in. Absolutely insane. Yes, I know I don't hit it far, but the point is, like, it's a 600-yard par 5. It's already difficult, and there's wind in your face. So I end up hitting it right on line with the pin. The only downside is I hit into the thick rough right before the bunker. I decide just to get cute on this last shot. I actually opened up my 60-degree and do a full swing flop. So, by the way, this camera angle is an absolute disaster. So note to future self, don't take it from a million miles away. But this is just a really good example of play this hole for a bogey. You're completely fine. So really bad ending there. We end up 4 over through the last 3 to shoot a 40 in for a total of a 78. But you know what? We played some really good golf. We played to a 4 differential, which is right around my handicap, so I'm fairly happy with that. But let me know what you think of this. Hope you enjoyed, and until next time with PB Dye Golf Club.